Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we're here with Joe Heward. He is running for Lincoln County Commissioner, and we'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Introduce myself. I'm Joe Heward. I live in the town of Thane. My wife is Denise. I had 4 kids. We raised them there. I've been on the town council of Thane for almost 14 years, where I've built basically a county-wide rec program. We offer sports for all the things, the ski club, football. I'm excited we have tackle football tryouts tomorrow night. We do that. We also have been over the water system there and the community center. Probably part of the reasons why I'm looking at running for county commissioner is all the things that they're over. I have a strong belief when you've paid for things already, you shouldn't have to pay to use them again. When your tax dollars have bought them, they should be used.
All right.
Question for you. So, in reference to that, we had some issues trying to run a demolition derby earlier this year with the fair board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some complications there. They wanted to charge $15,000 a year to put new sand in the arena. Essentially, it was a deflection from trying to have an event run that was going to be. In fact, we were going to maybe coordinate to pull it together, and it was going to be a big fundraiser for the area and the community. You know, give it to different charitable organizations or whatever. And one unelected person, quite frankly, sort of stopped it by deference through saying, hey, $15,000 a year for new sand because we want to keep it a horse arena. That facility was sold to the county taxpayers as being something that would be utilized heavily each weekend or week or whatever to, give the most back to the community and the taxpayers that own it. What would be your stance on how you would approach something like that with, for example, the fair board, which they're appointed by the commissioners?
Mm-hmm.
The commissioners that were in existence, and quite frankly, Jerry Hansen was one of them, he did nothing. He did not help to make that change, and I was in that meeting. I was extremely disappointed in it, quite frankly. Don't matter who cares, or who hears that happened. What would be your stance to make that be differently, so you could have people volunteer and help in those capacities, because it does take quite a bit of time and effort, right, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of fair board, and we appreciate their efforts. But how do you make that balance happen so that the best can happen for the people that own these facilities, as you mentioned?
For that instance, I'd have to look into it, insurance-wise, but they've already paid for that. Sand-wise, they have screeners that can, instead of have to haul in new sand or anything else, I'd look at doing a screening option. 2, they probably need to be coming to the county commissioners and finding out and having a discussion with the county commissioners and the fair board about why we're not using that for that option. What other reasons are there? Because, like I said, if you have a screener or some other option, and if you have public support, everything we do in our valley really has a lot of volunteers. If you have somebody who's animate about it or wants to do it, they round enough volunteers that they run it, and you can find ways to get things done without the cost.
And see, that was all lined up. We had, volunteers
Mm-hmm.
to manage all of that. It was just simply the allowance by the fair board to use the county-owned facility for something that every other arena in the area continually does. Those with much higher caliber horse events, Blackfoot County Fair. I mean, I had it
Right.
lined up to do it at a number of different locations.
Right.
It was simply a deterrent because the people in charge there at the fair board wanted to keep it as a horse venue, not something that's a multi-use event venue.
Right.
And obviously, as you know, that's a big event and could be a huge one. We're figuring on raising about $30,000 a year to go into local families in need, of charitable organizations, volunteer groups within the valley.
Right.
That got squashed. That should never happen.
No, like I said, our facility's been paid for by tax dollars. They need to be used. The best example I can use, we have a community center in Thane. I have free pickleball in there every day in the wintertime. And people have asked me, why aren't you charging? Because they've already paid for it. And the funny thing is, having the guys in there, it actually lowers our heating bill. But that's a prime example. I don't need to charge for this. I don't need to administrate it. We spent so much money at the beginning to buy some nets, and that was 7 years ago. So the buildings are there to be used. The worst case example of this that I've ran into since I've been running, I had somebody on a cemetery board call me, said they've gotten no answers from the county commissioners But this year we had a guy in Thane who passed away. They didn't come to the council and ask us to plow it. They went to our town plow guy and he said no, and the county said no. So an 80-year-old guy has paid his cemetery bill for all this time and had that, mill levy assessed against him, and then his family had to pay $1,500 to plow the road to it. Something's not right there.
Right.
When the county owns the equipment, and even the town, I mean, I know it's really a county thing, but even as a town, and the sad part is the person who used to do that for free has passed away. But if they'd gone to the right people and asked, and that's embarrassing that somebody's paid for that long, and then their family has to pay $1,500 to get access to the cemetery, when your mill levy says cemetery right there.
Another question: How would you kind of remind, for lack of better words, the county, even government employees, Forest Service, others local that are within the county? How would you go to remind them, hey, they do work for the people? These tax dollars, as you say, things that have been paid for. To sort of remove that idea that, sometimes that's how it happens, right? They get complacent, like, well, I don't necessarily work for you, and it's like, well, they do, right? How would you do that? How would you reintroduce that to, say, county employees and stuff, just saying, hey, this is a reminder, this is what we're doing?
I've worked for a co-op for 29 years. Everybody that takes power from Lower Valley Energy is my boss. I have to deal with that on a daily basis. And the more you emphasize that and remind, the more I've been reminded of it, and check what you have to have some accountability, but you also have some measuring device. When's the last time you asked 15 people in the county, what do you think of our county employees? Until I find that out, what can we work on? We send out a survey every year at Lower Valley to find out what we score, and we score in the high 90s for our customer service and things. We should be the same as a county, but you're not going to get that until you figure it out. If we send out a survey and say, hey, how do you think we're doing spending your money? How do you think we're doing with our facilities? How do you think we're doing with our employees? That'll give me a heads up of where I need to start working. And people appreciate the opportunity to at least respond.
That's something you commit to do, is to essentially have that
absolutely
survey done, so where people could voice that.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right on.
Good deal. Okay, so what are your top 3 priorities for Lincoln County, and what is your plan to achieve those goals?
My top 3 priorities is first off, I think we need to raise our county commissioners to 5. And I propose doing that we need to set up districts, one down by Kemmer, LaBarge, Cokeville area, maybe Afton, Cokeville, and then one in the northern part, Alpine, Thane, Star Valley Ranch, and then have 2 at large. That way you get a better idea of what's going on in your county, and you're always getting representation for both places or all the places. I also propose doing that by not increasing government. You take the salary of the 3 right now and divide it by 5. I know that's not a popular political thing, but that's what I look at, is doing that. I'm also a firm believer that we need access to our meetings. We've came so far in technology, and we still have our meetings. And like when they came to the town and told us they were having the tax relief meeting, it was at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. So it wouldn't be worth my time to take off work to attend a meeting. Why can't they have them in the evening? You're a government employee. The other thing is every meeting should be able to be on Zoom. So people at home, people at work, people can see it. It can be recorded, and you can comment. If I'm a county commissioner and I see the comment section, I can read it. Somebody in that area can bring up a point that I did not think about. I don't know it all. I want to be able to have somebody give me information on what it is in real time before I have to make a decision. But to say that, well, you can come down to the Afton office and watch it, that's not accessibility. Not in today's age. We have the technology to make it very simple and not cost a lot to be able to, and it won't be interruptive. That's another one of my access points or whatever and stuff.
Okay.
And then I think we need to really take a look at what we're doing as a county. we have municipalities, and I know that aspect because I'm in Thane, but I serve the county and all our stuff, and there's a lot of things the county could be helping with in allowing things to participate. This 1% special tax, the county should really be helping push that, in my opinion. These are attributes and things that are going on in the municipalities that everybody comes into. The county goes into Kemmer, they need their roads and streets fixed. Cokeville needs water. They really have that. The thing we're looking at Thane, you don't have the money to do something, but yet we just hired an economic development guy. I can tell you what economic development is. You build the pickleball court in Thane, and I can charge, they told me they pay us $10,000 to hold tournaments every time. It's a huge thing, but yet we're gonna spend money to study how we can get people here. I don't agree with that.
Right on.
Makes sense to me. Okay. So as far as the growth in Star Valley, what are you going to do to support the increased demand for the Sheriff's Office, Search and Rescue, and Fire Services?
So, Sheriff's Office, fire districts and stuff, a lot of those are things that have their own incorporated. With the Sheriff's Office, I think you need to start meeting with the guys and figuring out what do we need to do. You know, we have a sheriff, we have some of his workers. Talk to them and figure out what are our aspects, what are our options. Again, I have to fall back to the town of Thane. We didn't have a cop for a while. We're interviewing one now. It's very hard to find somebody that can afford to live here and pay what we get. I mean, it's a difficult thing, and that's throughout every employer
Everywhere.
basically in the valley. It's not something new. As far as the growth is coming, we need to make sure. One thing that I've learned at my job at Lower Valley, developers need to pay for the infrastructure. When somebody's coming in, they need to make sure it's not putting a burden on the people that are here. You want to build this big subdivision, you're going to pay for it. You're still making money. And if not, then it's not going to happen. But there's no reason I should pay for you to make money. Same thing in the county. We need to make sure that they're doing stuff like that. Another one of my big complaints or gripes right now, we have people who come in here, spend lots of money, and dig a great big pond for their 2 weeks out of the year or whatever they're here. Okay? Well, you're taking an access on the Salt River, and you're going to make the water warm enough that there's not going to be fish. They're going to have E. coli in it. You're taking an asset that has been generations of something to do and a good time here, and one of a great thing we have, and we're sacrificing it for these multi-billionaires so they can put a pond in, so they can look nice for a couple weeks. That's ridiculous.
Well, I do like your disdain for the Romneys. Well, that's positive for me.
I didn't name anybody.
That is true. You did not.
She did not
But
say that,
yes,
for the record.
Yes.
Sorry, that just slipped.
Well,
Say it's
and when
beyond our house.
when
That
people
one
talk
too.
about
Slip
property
out.
taxes, I have two things. The owner of Bass Pro Shops bought behind my house and paid over $18 million for his place. Okay, what do you think my property taxes went? I fought for a year and a half to dig 6 feet along the East Side Canal because I might put dirt into Flat Creek. He got a permission to build an 18-acre pond in less than 12 days. Somewhere something in government's not working right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Money.
Yeah. All right, Joe. So, I mean, I think you got some likability stuff. Ain't gonna lie, full disclosure, I'm gonna probably vote for you. But, but at the same time, what is your approach as far as the economic impact in ways you can increase that within the valley? So, obviously, I know you were, lineman for Lower Valley Energy. You've done a lot of good and all your service and everything within the town. But in terms of, thinking outside of that, I mean, it's, some of us have written our own check our whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's terrible. It's not fun
Scary.
at all. Yeah. How can you help that? How can you help small business in the county? What would be your ideas or approach to doing that?
Well, for one, I think that we need to be able to access, there's a new program, I haven't got to look into it much, from the state, that you're going to be able to get grants and opportunities to be able to see what grants and what money is out there to help small businesses, to help things grow. Some of those grants can be either for health insurance for your employees, different things like that, whether it's technology, whether it's different things along that line. Right now, I'm in the process of working on a grant. Again, I'm a town of 350, but we're looking at a $600,000 grant to put EV chargers in. And I know it's not a popular thing, but there's a lot of people coming through with EVs that need a place to have a supercharger. We're looking at putting one in front of a hotel. That boosts our hotel economy. One in front of the grocery store. There's another thing. Are they going to spend hours and hours here? Maybe not, but they might decide to spend the night in our town or in our county and stuff like that.
They
And
in
so,
fact do, because I have one, and that's exactly what I do.
but that, I mean,
I always spend right there.
Right.
Yeah, you spend when you're sitting there.
Yeah.
that's one of the things we're pursuing. Grants are something that you have to look at closely to make sure you don't spend too much money compared to what the benefit is. But a lot of those, I take my best example is thinking outside the box for me, the one I take the most pride in. I was over the water department and I got told that we had to fix our water tank. And so they're going to charge me $70,000 to put scuba divers in our water tank. When it was said and done, I'd gone out and got a grant. We got an additional water tank and fixed the old water tank for $90,000. Getting grants, looking at, there's got to be something better than putting people inside a scuba tank, inside our tank to try to fix it. And it worked out. It worked out really great through SLIB and different things. Working with the different things. When you look at some of the different advantages for some of these grants, some of the opportunities, we just got $100,000 for a backup generator in thing. Zero cost to the town. We got told about the minerals grant. We said, hey, let's try it. The worst they can tell us is no. They didn't. They told us yes. And now I have electricians, a concrete man providing services to put that in. But there's a lot of, we need to make it easy for business owners and companies here to be able to find out the access to the state money and the federal money.
Because it's there.
It is there.
And
And if we don't use it, somebody else does.
Yep. Yeah. You just don't always know where it's at and how to get it.
Or how to
So,
get it.
And honestly, most grants anymore are click the boxes.
yeah.
It's not a thing. But you do have to be careful. Like I said, there's some that's like the paperwork on the back end is huge.
Once you receive it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
and as a county, the other thing, and again, this is personal gripe because I deal with it. I love the county rec program. They've helped us do a lot of things. But why do I apply for it in March and then I don't get the money until November?
Yeah.
The budget's already been passed. They've given it to us. It makes it difficult. But and maybe there's some reason I've never been told. But and I don't want to complain because you get money.
Because it's there. Yeah.
So,
Because it's getting paid for.
Yep.
But yeah, that's especially because in your summer sports, your summer rec program.
well, it's hard to be thinking that
In
in a
November.
sense that far ahead, going, okay, I need a new gym floor.
Yeah.
Am I going to get it? I don't get the answer until then, and then I can't do it that summer, so then it's next year
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
But
Makes sense. What? Okay, we kind of touched base on the infrastructure. You'd said the developers need to kind of take care of their utilities and stuff, water, sewer. What?
I'm also a firm believer in keeping the things we have up to date, maintenance. Same thing, thinking outside the box when you think about maintenance. I look at our community center. I take a lot of pride in our community center. Since we've taken it over, we've put new carpet in. Carpets Plus, I'll give them a plug. They gave us a huge discount because I had the football team tear out the carpet. So I was able to give the football team money and tear out the carpet. We turned around and had college kids coming home for Christmas. We painted the whole interior for probably $40,000 less than what we would have had a contractor do it. Instead, we gave the kids from college coming home jobs to work over Christmas break. We've gotten a new roof on there. We've gotten a lot of things that we've done. We've just gotten them painting the outside. Things like that. If you don't continually do small things into it, the next thing somebody will be screaming, we need a new community center. We don't have one.
Yeah. Take care of what you got before you lose it. Transparency. To me, transparency is huge. How do you plan to be transparent as a county commissioner?
One, being available. Two, like I said, I think all the meetings need to be recorded and accessible at any time to anybody. The idea that it's at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday or whatever, and the next day on Wednesday, behind I don't know. Me personally, I'm not going to be able to drive to Kimmer. I'm not going to go sit in Afton in a building. You know, I think there's a lot more people that would turn it on, listen to it, hear what's going on,
Be involved.
make comments, things like that. That's where the transparency starts, is right in your meetings. And being available, you know, I think when I talk to the sewer, or not the sewer, but the cemetery districts, they haven't heard from a county commissioner. I've been on the town council for 14 years and I haven't had a county commissioner sit in our meetings. How would they know what's going on? And I get that from most all the towns and the water boards and the different things and stuff. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I can tell you, I talked to 4 different cemetery districts and not a one of them had heard other than this is the money you get.
Yep, that makes sense. So, with that being said, what all is the county commissioner in charge of as far as duties? Because I don't think a lot of people maybe know that then.
Well, that's the thing that's crazy to me is you have 3 guys, and you have cemetery, you have fair, you have sheriff, you have county road and bridge. We have collaborations with the Forest Service. I mean, you're looking at a huge employee, the weed and pest. Those are ones I can think of right offhand. And 3 people are supposed to be able to manage that, and do all that, and have all the knowledge on all that.
For a county that spans, what, how many square miles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And like I said, the issues in Alpine are not the issues in LaBarge.
No.
LaBarge and Kemmer have some great things coming on with the energy stuff. But it's going to take some knowledge and, you know, and knowing their area.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone through boom and bust stuff. You know, meanwhile, the traffic, the growth in Alpine, total different issue.
Yeah.
You know, bedroom community, you know, I understand the people driving to Jackson. I've done it. I understand what they're going through, what services we need to offer when you come home. But that's not the same in Cokeville.
True.
Yeah. So, in reference to, you know, everyone talking about the increases in their property taxes, of course, the idea with them asking commissioners is because the funds that come back through into the county for that utilization are increased by, you know, pushing double, right, within the last few years. How then, though, do you offset that and essentially say, okay, well, the county didn't need a 40% raise in a few years. That's a fact. It did not. There's ways of, you know, but the idea is if the money's there, obviously it's easy to find uses for it, right? How can you assure people or what's your approach to that? Because I mean, the idea being that, you know, you're essentially where the rubber meets the road at times, right, with that money. How do you then offset and say, hey, we're doing some adjustments because we're not going to find, you know, we're not necessarily looking for save some of the money, I guess, or something along those lines. Not necessarily look and say, well, let's do what government does and just spend it all the time.
Right.
See what I mean?
No, my approach is one, you have to have an audit. You have to have an audit and sit down with each group and see exactly where the money is going and where we're top heavy, where we're light. Maybe we need to spend more on sheriffs so we can hire somebody here so they're wanting to work here. I think we need to look down the future for housing and stuff. You can't be saying we need affordable housing 10 years from now. We need it 10 years ago for critical services, for ambulance, fire, for different things like that, for the sheriff's office. If we have some county things like that, I look at it as that's where I need to go. I do need to save some money because when we have dips, you need to be able to float across those. So you need to put some money in there, but it's also one of those, and that's where I think the maintenance and the things like that, when you have money and you're putting this much money into something, it's a difference to chip seal a road as it is to have to redo a road. If you're putting too much money away and not spending it to improve things, it's going to cost you more in the long run. I did a sprinkler system in the town of Thane. It got voted down. The guys didn't want to go for it. It would have cost us, you know, with grants and everything, about $70,000 to $80,000. We now just spent $200,000 on it because they didn't want to do it when we originally had the grant and stuff. If you just keep pushing it down the road, you're going to keep, you know, the money you're saving is not going to cover it. At least historically, it hasn't.
You do it before it gets too bad, and then you have to spend more.
Right.
Okay, time. How you did say you work for Lower Valley Energy. How do you plan on balancing your time, handling a full-time job and taking care of the county?
I've been doing it for 14 years as a town councilman. I can guarantee the hours I put in there exceeds most hours. I have an amazing wife that takes care of everything else. So, things like that.
No, she doesn't.
But yeah, that's, you know, I've been volunteering. I was an EMT on the town council. I've been in Boy Scouts, church activities, you name it. It's not something new to me. This is not going to be something that takes more of my time than what I'm usually used to doing.
Okay.
Could be less.
Could be less.
For free, might I add. He does that for free.
For free. Which is huge, I think. I had another question, but it just popped out of my head.
Thinking, Joe. So in comparison to the others that are running currently, what is kind of the main, very top thing that you think separates you in comparison to them?
I think you read my mind.
That was the next thing I want to ask.
That's exactly. That was like, how did I want to word this? But that's exactly what I wanted to ask. Okay.
Realistically, having gone to a couple of these things or whatever, one of the big things is the other two don't agree that we need 5 commissioners and to cut the pay from 3 to 5. I'm not sure why they think that's more government or whatever. I'm not sure what Eileen's stance is on it. So she's here. I can probably ask her.
We'll ask her tomorrow.
Okay. Just for the representation, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we have, and the transparency. I do not think in today's age the meetings need to be held where people cannot attend virtually. Having it broadcast to a building in Afton is not considered virtually. You should be able to get it in your home. It should be a recorded thing that they can sit down and watch. Having gone to the state, on the state level for grants, I can guarantee you it's a lot harder to say no or disapprove something when you're standing in front of them. Or they see how you voted, or they see what the discussion was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's certainly true.
that's been my history on it.
So on the transparency side, again, you just ensure that there was the platforms, it was easy to access. People were maybe a system that would allow everyone to know, hey, this meeting's coming up, and just a reminder, something so people could click and log in, on their phones and just be watching the meetings and,
Absolutely.
and see what was happening. Yeah.
We have the technology we have nowadays. I mean, ski club, I'm able to send out a text, we're leaving at this time, send out a text to every parent that, hey, the buses have left, we're leaving the ski hill. How hard is it if you're wanting to know that information? You give the thing, the secretary or whoever can send out, meeting's going to start at 9. Here is a link to it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's not rocket science anymore. It's not that hard. Will you be able to interrupt the meeting or anything else? No, they'll have an administrator. You'll be able to put your comments there.
Yeah.
And realistically, I should be able to see the comments where I'm at.
Would be ideal, like you said, to think about that.
Because there's people who have ideas that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I need to know it.
Absolutely. Okay, another question. So the county commissioners basically have hired their first bureaucrat, essentially, right? It's the guy that's over
The
stuff.
chief administrator.
Chief administrator, okay. Didn't know what he was.
I'll help you out. Yeah.
He seems to have more influence, in my mind, than what an elected person, which we the people elected,
Agree.
should have. He seems to be making decisions and things. That shouldn't happen. The idea is, to be frank, the existing commissioners, in my mind, are not capable of handling the load and the decisions on their own, as is. So they had to hire someone to help make that happen. That shouldn't happen. We're paying more money for that. I'd rather elect some people that could make that a full-time job, but legitimately make those decisions as elected leaders and not have a bureaucrat essentially over that. He's hiring and firing and he's doing stuff. That shouldn't happen. What's your thoughts on that?
Thanks for making my pitch for having 5.
And there it is.
You're welcome.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. I don't know. They've got a lot on their plate. They have a lot of things to do. The other thing that really comes up all the time, take a look at how many times one of them recluses themselves in the vote for personal conflict.
That leads to.
Yeah.
They recluse themselves all the time, and not that that's bad. I appreciate them doing it.
Yeah.
But we're too small that this contract's going to my brother-in-law, or this is going to my husband, this is going to this is going to my son. So I'm reclusing myself. Well, no, you didn't.
Sure.
And it's hard to even have conversations that are legit, because with 3, 2 people can make the decision and never even include the other person in what they're discussing. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we need 5 instead of, and part of that I think is the workload.
Yeah.
But
There is a lot, to be fair.
the county
There
administrator
is.
is not answering to the people.
Right, they're not, yeah, exactly.
So,
And all it is, here comes this new buffer that becomes
yeah,
almost
insulation.
impossible to, change, and then, it's a scapegoat. Hey, well, this guy's made the decision, instead of us or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Well,
No, it's frustrating. I think we kind of covered everything super quick.
yeah.
Like that was
Great.
You did good,
probably
Joe.
the fastest meeting that we've had so far.
I
But I
encourage
think
that
we
too.
covered.
Very fast meetings.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we covered everything that I've kind of got over the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
The one thing I really can rest my case on, I've done this for 14 years. I get things done. We've saved money. We're drive through Thane right now. We're fixing 2 roads. We've fixed our community center up. We've built a huge rec program.
We put up my star.
We put up this star. A lot of things like that. I'm not a big fan of meetings. When they talk about, we've met with the Forest Service for 6 years now. Nothing's came of that collaboration except meetings. Come on. It doesn't take 6 years to tell you the Grays River Road is horrible.
Right. it does.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
Come on, let's hold our meeting up there and see how you feel.
Yeah, all the way
Drive up
through,
there.
Yeah.
and then you'll.
I
I mean,
you'll
that would be
know.
the simplest answer.
Yeah.
Bring whoever you want, and let's take your vehicles and drive
Yes.
up there.
Yeah.
Not a county vehicle, drive your vehicle, and then let's see if we can figure out something on the Grays River Road.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, I know that sounds oversimplified, but I'll be honest, that's probably what needs to take place.
Yeah, true.
Instead of a collaboration of 6 years worth of meetings.
But sometimes it's that easy. Like, I mean, that's an easy answer. Like, why not do
We had
that?
a grant in Thane that we were looking at. We brought them to our parking lot at the community center. It was dirt in the spring. The lady literally got out of the truck and said, well, yeah, this is the kind of project we need. But it helped taking her to the parking lot in the mud. And,
Yeah. In spring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
you have to see it
Yeah.
to know what needs to be done. Yeah.
So as the commissioner, will you push a little sway on getting the Wyoming bucking horse on that star and thing? I think that would look a little better to actually have the bucking
You
horse.
think?
You know what I mean?
Nobody gave me that anymore when we were creating it.
we had an art committee that designed it and did very well. And I would never go against what their
never thought
decisions
about the
were.
bucking horse,
Is
though.
the art committee to your right? Your back right there? Is that...
Probably the head of it.
I will say that actually a bucking horse is in the thought process, just not on the start, but in things
Oh,
still.
yeah. There you
Yes.
go.
All right.
There you go.
All right.
We're making another stopping place
Okay.
in Thane, or they're in the works of it.
Right on.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Well, good. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time, Joe,
Thanks.
and we will talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.